The snatch pull is one of the only strength exercises you can do to get stronger for the snatch, but it's also one of the most incorrectly performed lifts. I'm Coach Brian from Big Ben Strength, and over the last 10 years, I've taught thousands of lifters how to do the snatch. And in today's video, I'm gonna break down the snatch pull and its variations, some of the most common mistakes beginners make in the snatch pull, and give you my simple approach to programming pulls into your training program to set massive PRs. And if you're new to the channel and you wanna learn more about Olympic weightlifting, then make sure to subscribe. The snatch pull has one purpose, to strengthen your pull for the snatch, but it's not just a strength exercise, it's also a technique exercise. And because of this, lifters will often treat the snatch pull with less respect when it comes to the details. There are three common types of snatch pulls: the snatch high pull, the snatch pull, and the snatch deadlift. Each of these movements are exactly the same from start to finish, with one small exception: the weight on the bar. In a snatch high pull, you'll be using the lightest weights, and therefore you'll be able to get the bar much higher. In a snatch pull, you'll be using heavier weights, which means that you might be able to get the bar to about stomach height, but not necessarily chest height like you could for a high pull. And in the snatch deadlift, the weights are so heavy that you might only be able to stand up and get a little bit of a shrug at the top. The important thing to remember is that the setup and execution of each of these lifts should be exactly the same and be exactly the same as the technique that you would use in the snatch. Now that we know that the technique across these three variations is the same, let's cover a few quick tips. When performing a snatch pull, treat it exactly like a snatch without getting under it. Set up with your feet just underneath your hips with the toes turned out slightly. Set your hips to the bar where they are about parallel with your knees, maybe slightly lower if you have shorter legs, or slightly higher if you have longer legs. But make sure that your armpits are directly on top of the bar and that your shoulders and knees are in front of the bar. Tighten your back, brace your core. Begin pulling off the floor. Think about pushing down into the ground to clear the knees out of the way to make room for the bar. As you get your knees out of the way, then begin slightly pushing your knees forward as you sweep the bar back to recreate your power position before extending up and guiding the bar up with the arms. Here's what that looks like in full speed. Now let's go over three of the most common mistakes beginners make in the snatch pull. Snatch pull mistake number one is the deadlift plus shrug combo. This mistake is very common for lifters who learned the Olympic lifts in a strength and conditioning setting. Football players, volleyball players, track and field athletes all tend to have this common mistake. Most of the time, lifters who make this mistake tend to start with their hips too high, like they would for a deadlift, and then they'll pull and give it a little shrug at the top. Simply adding in a shrug doesn't make it a snatch pull. The main goal of a snatch pull is to practice aggressively launching the bar up using the same technique that we would have in a snatch. Setting up like you would for a deadlift and leaving your hips high the entire time does not allow you to get any vertical leg drive, and instead will likely just lead to some swinging away, which we'll talk about in mistake number three. Instead, make sure to set your hips at the same height that you would for a snatch. Finish your pull aggressively, and instead of shrugging because you're thinking you're supposed to, shrug because you launch the bar so hard that the shrug happens as a byproduct of the bar just moving up, and you're trying to stay connected with that bar as it does so. Remember, use your legs so aggressively that the bar launches up, and the shrug just happens as a byproduct of following the bar. Snatch pull mistake number two is the pull plus calf raise combo. This mistake is very common for overthinkers and people who are trying to perfect their triple extension. For those of you guys who don't know, triple extension is a phrase used by coaches who want to sound smarter than they are to tell you what happens to your body when you jump, which is extension of the hips, knees, and ankles, or exactly what it looks like if you were to jump. The problem with this approach is that it makes lifters think about extending each of these joints individually. Triple extension is a byproduct of jumping, but it should not be the main focus. Instead of focusing really hard on extending each of these joints, just focus on launching the bar like you're going to get under it. If you do this right, you'll end up in triple extension, but you won't get there by slowly, mechanically trying to open up each of those joints. A good rule of thumb is to just focus on going really fast past the knee, and you'll end up in the right position, and you won't look like a bodybuilder who's never tried to be athletic before. Snatch pull mistake number 3 is the pull plus swing away. This mistake happens when lifters perform the snatch pull relatively correctly, but then lose it at the last second by keeping their elbows straight, which, when you do that, you will swing the bar away every single time. After the legs extend, the elbows must bend to stay close to the body. And since we never want to swing the bar away in the snatch, we don't want to do it in the snatch pull either. To fix this mistake, you only need to make one small change, bending your elbows at the top of your pull. Instead of swinging the bar away, we are going to swing the bar up. It's important to note that this elbow bend is not to pull the bar up with your arms. It's simply to follow the bar as it is launched up by your legs. By making this small change, you'll also start to instinctively make micro corrections to your technique, where your hips might also be thrusting the bar away along with the elbow staying straight. So give that simple change a try and let me know how it goes in the comments. Now let's talk about programming. Here's how I program snatch pulls into my athletes' training programs to set massive PRs, and it's simpler than you think. At least once a week, but ideally after every snatch workout, perform 3 to 5 sets of 2 to 5 reps of a snatch pull at 10 pounds heavier than your last snatch for the day. If you're doing lighter technique work snatches, then you'll be doing lighter snatch high pulls for technique. If you're doing moderately heavy snatches, then you'll be doing moderately heavy snatch pulls for a little bit of technique and a little bit of strength. And if you're doing very heavy snatches, then you'll be doing very heavy snatch deadlifts to build strength. It's that simple. Don't worry about percentages. Don't worry about variations. 10 pounds heavier than your last snatch for a couple sets of 2 to 5 reps. Launch the bar as high as possible with the same focus on your technique as you would for a snatch, and you'll get stronger, improve your technique, and set PRs. And if setting PRs is something that's important to you, then check out my OlyStrong weightlifting program. You'll get access to proven training programs designed to help you set PRs, daily video feedback from me to improve your technique, and unlimited coach messaging to ask as many questions as you have. If that sounds cool, then click the link in the description below for either the 3-day or 5-day team and sign up for a free week trial today. That's everything for this video. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.